Farming Simulator have become a revolution across our industry, with players from all over the world getting involved with the latest instalment of the immensely popular Farming Simulator series, which launched at the end of 2024. Welcome, Kermit.
Hi, Cliff.
How are you doing? You're right.
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's great to be here.
It's a hell of a show, isn't it?
It's awesome. It's really cool to see here for the first time personally.
It's your first LAMMA show?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you like big bits of kit and machinery, this is the show for you.
Oh yeah,
isn't
it's heaven for that. For
yeah,
sure.
It definitely is. So, Kermit, you're our Farming Simulator rep. So tell me a little bit about what you do for the company. And we were saying just off air that the FS is based actually in Chicago, isn't it?
Well, our U.S. office is, we're actually like a Swiss company originally. That's where our co-founders are from, Switzerland. We have an office in Germany and Czech Republic as well. But my role is community coordinator, but I also do a lot of marketing. I do broadcasting related stuff for the company. So I'm gauging players' feedback and reporting that up so that we can listen to our players and try to improve the game for them as we move forward.
So the FS community, they're the cohort who you work closely to, right?
Yeah, like people that are creating content on YouTube, as well as like our mod creators, as well as just players of the game. Hearing their feedback, listening to issues they may have, and forwarding them along is the main goal. But I go to events like this too and engage like that as well.
That's really cool. So for those who may be tuning in for the first time and don't know about Farming Simulator, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we started in 2008. It's a game, of course, based on farming. Like, we romanticize it a little bit. You don't have the hardships so much in our game. It has to be fun at the end of the day. So it's a game that focuses on farming. You can do animal husbandry. There's forestry in the game. Our main focus of the game is licensed machinery. So a show like LAMMA is great because we see a lot of brands that are within our game. We have all the big names in the game now. John Deere, AGCO, Kloss, Fendt, so on. If you can think of like the big tractor brands, they're probably in Farming Simulator at this point. And it's just kind of a sandbox that you can get into, farm, and kind of make it your own. There's a management aspect to it, and you can kind of learn how to run your business. There's lots to offer in the game that you can do.
Now, for those who don't know, a sandbox, like a sort of closed environment where you can sort of experiment or play safely. So
yeah, you can do kind of anything within the game you want. So if you just want to do forestry, you can do that, or you can raise animals, or you can just hire a bunch of AI workers to go around, and you can kind of play more of like a farm manager if you want as well. So
and they're never off sick. They never come in with a hangover.
Right.
They always do a day's work.
Yeah, exactly.
And the sort of concept of playing the game, I'm relaxed with, but I was really interested just to hear, are people using it to actually model their real businesses?
I maybe like in a limited sense. There are a lot of real life farmers that farm all day and come in and play our game at night, and maybe they're using the game to kind of demo machines that maybe they're interested in. But there are examples as well of players of our game who have no real farming background. They get the interest in farming, and then they end up moving on into a career in agriculture itself.
And do the kit and machinery that you see in the game, do they have the same attributes and performance as they would do for real?
Yeah, we try to get it as authentic as possible because we have brands that are very picky about their particular brand. We have a 3D scanner and these other tools that we can use. So if a company gives us access to go to their facility, we can scan every single screw, every bolt within the machine even, to make sure that we're getting it as authentic as possible. We also do that with sound and other things in the game too.
They're not worried about their IP, but you have an agreement with them. So
exactly. Yeah, they send us like, it's up to the brand really. They can send us files that we can use as well to model the machines after.
And what are the new features that we see in the game that were launched at the end of last year?
The main new features in Farming Simulator 25, we've added some new crops. We have rice, we have green beans as well. We've added new animals with water buffalo and goats into the game. We have some cool features where like now you can make your pasture fit the environment, where it used to be square only in the game. You can kind of make it any shape you want so you can fit your environment with it, make it more natural.
I'm loving the water buffalo. Jody Scheckter, the ex-Formula One driver over here in the UK, has water buffalo, and he's often on telly with it. So I think
that's cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing to have actually. And the shape, so it looks a little bit more realistic because quite often farms aren't square, right? So is that's the thing you
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the environment is very just variable. Like like you said, each farm looks different, and the great thing about our game is we have we now have an Asian map for the first time. So for the first time, our players are seeing what farming looks like in that environment. So it's a good way to see farming, how it's done all around the world, because farming is important all around the world, but it looks different from place to place.
And so the different climate overlays for different areas, that the game incorporates that, does it? Or
roughly, like we can roughly like set up different weather and things like that. Like, you know, in an American map in like the Midwest, there's going to be like more twisters than there would be elsewhere, right? So we can kind of put those things in those factors.
Yeah, we don't have many twisters in Birmingham.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying no, but they're unlikely, I think. So the new crops we talked about. So we've got beans and rice.
Yeah.
So what's the full suite of crops that you've got? You've got sort of everything that you can imagine.
A lot of them, like over 25 now. So I mean, you've got the cereal crops, the classics. You know, you've got root crops as well. There's a little bit of everything. Yeah.
And what about animal husbandry? We touched on the goats coming and the water buffalo, but you know, what else has changed in terms of sort of broader animal husbandry?
We've added baby animals to the game for the first time as well, so you can actually see like the little ones grow up. There's 3 age ranges now, so that was different than before. We also have cows and sheep, pigs, chickens in the game, so you know there's quite a variety of animals, pigs as well. So yeah, there's a nice variety.
It's interesting because it was really clear to me last year that our industry is a tech industry as much as anything else, and you know, your users, quite a few are farmers. You know, they are really comfortable with tech, with AI, with you know, and I find that is something that would not be recognisable maybe even 10 years ago. And do you think that's set to grow even more?
Yeah, I think it's a natural fit for our game and something that really makes our game successful. Like you said, technology is like the agricultural industry is really at the forefront of technology. You see all these new technologies all the time invented to make things more sustainable, more accessible, and we're starting to put those things into the game, which is really cool because our players like to see those things from real life then replicated.
So let's take my favourite, the water buffalo. So did that come about through customer feedback, through your community, people saying, hey, you know, we'd really like water buffalo, or was that something that you guys identified and then road tested with the community? How did that, just sort of explain how the etymology of how that sort of came out?
I think a little bit of both, right? Like I think the feedback more was that we saw an increase in player base in Asia, so we wanted to make an Asian map, and then the natural fit for adding an animal at that point was water buffalo. So it's partly feedback, but also, you know, born out of the fact of let's make this map, and now we need something that kind of fits the environment.
Interesting. And have you yet gleaned any sort of community feedback on how well it's landed? You know, we're a month in, aren't we? So not quite.
A couple of months. We get feedback all the time. So you know, we hear the positives, we hear the feedback about how we can improve as well, and we're always willing to listen to that.
And people liking my buffaloes?
Oh yeah, they like it so far.
Yeah, that's great. So what's coming next? Because you know, a game has to evolve in the way our industry does as well. So you know, you presumably you've got new things coming over the hill. What's the next thing?
Oh yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff. Like the work never stops. The thing is, for Giant Software as well, we're going to move out of the farming industry for the first time in a game that we're publishing. So there's going to be a motor racing game coming out later this year that we're publishing and not developing. It's made by a different group. So that's kind of where we're focusing, like, you know.
And that's not linked to the farming simulator.
No, not
that's
linked
a separate game.
But for Farming Simulator, yeah, more products coming all the time. It's our main driving factor. You know, it's what built the company and brought it to where it is today. So Farming Simulator is going to continue to be successful. And you know, right now we're on a 3-year cycle. If that stays the same, then the next time around will be the 20th anniversary of Farming Simulator first releasing. So, you know, we've not been around for that long, but we've already seen our success really just skyrocket.
So 20 years is going to be a notable anniversary,
right?
Isn't it?
For sure.
So tell me, you're here at LAMMA. You're personally your first time.
Yeah.
Are there competitions going on here, or what are you actually doing here at the show?
Right. Yesterday we had some bale stacking competitions, so it's a fun mode that we do at events a lot. It's just stack bales on a trailer as fast as you can. But we also are doing a program, myself and my colleague and the community team are doing just gameplay on stage where we're showing off the new game, telling the guests about the features. And then we have some of our biggest YouTube partners as well on stage in the time slots in between, giving talks about, you know, different topics on the game that they prepared.
They prepare, so YouTube partners. Yeah. Give me an example. Who?
One is One's from the UK, he lives up in Scotland. The Farm Sim guy is his name. We also have DJ Goham and Farmer Cop, who came from the United States as well. They were here last year, and they're back again. They're on stage. They're talking about like how to get started in the game, how mods can change your game, because you can add modifications created by the community. That's a big feature of our game, and it can really change how your game plays.
So these are modifications that they're not something you've pushed out. This is something that I assume you've had to sort of verify it and validate, but the idea and the concept has come from the community.
Yeah, exactly. We test them. They send them to us, we test them. Once they're approved, then we upload them to our mod hub, which is accessible in the game. And for our last version, Farming Simulator 22, we had 6,000 plus 7,000 mods total. We have over like 1.5 billion downloads of our mods on our mod hub as well.
1.5 billion?
1.5 billion,
wow,
yes.
Okay. And as you as the sort of community lead, I imagine that's a key part of your role, isn't it? Taking those suggested mods. Give me an example of one. I mean, they're putting you on the spot there.
A big one that's super popular that will resonate with the UK is a map for Comsden Farm. And for Farming Simulator 22 it released. The UK community, when the game comes out, they all are like, okay, this game's nice, but when are we getting our first British map mod? Like, that's what they want, right? So you can get maps, you can get new machines, you can change even how the game plays with them as well.
That's really interesting. And do you find, I mean, this might be commercially confidential, and I understand if it is, but do you find that exhibitors here at LAMMA are coming to you saying that we'd really like our products in Farming Simulator?
Definitely. That's a big reason why we go to events like this around the world, is because we can make those connections, and they naturally see, hey, maybe they didn't know about us before, or maybe they did. They see us in person, and they're like, you know what? We should get in the game. It's happened already.
I hadn't really considered the sort of the advertising in old money reach of something like FS. That,
right.
Product placement in there is, I imagine, a really key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a driving factor. It's a way for brands to get their recognition to a younger audience, right? An audience that maybe they're not reaching in another way.
So, the big businesses who we've talked about a lot, have got teams of social media experts, marketing teams, et cetera, and I imagine that they're who you're liaising with in your sort of community role.
Right.
But smaller businesses, so Night Farm Machinery, for example, one of our, a double award winner, best in class overall, they definitely wouldn't have, that degree of team, ready
right.
to sort of engage. So do you find you're engaging with business principals as well, or is it usually just through the sort of social media and marketing side?
Yeah, definitely business principals, not for my role, but like our account managers would be the ones handling that. But, I do facilitate a lot of interest through social media or in person that then is passed along from brands of all sizes. It doesn't really matter to us. If a brand's keen on being in the game, we're willing to chat with them.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely see that. And I think that if you're the people playing, your community playing, recognize kit and equipment that they're using,
right.
then suddenly it sort of grows and grows.
Yeah, everyone wants to see like what's in their area, right? Like they want to see those products that they are familiar with on their farm.
So I think I need to come down and have a play.
You should.
I haven't done yet. Am I going to just embarrass myself, or is it fairly easy to pick up?
I don't think, people think it's complicated, but if you really strip it down and you do one process at a time and learn that, get used to it, it's really not that tough. If you have at least a little bit of gaming experience, you're going to be just fine. But either way, we have people that have never really played games before, retirees, for example, that are looking for something to do and they want to get into gaming, and Farming Simulator is kind of a natural fit for them. It's a laid-back game. It's relaxing. It's not stressful. It's not a competitive game. There's no violence in it. It's family-friendly, so it really appeals to a large group of people.
No, I absolutely get that. And do you have the stats on what percentage of your community come from our industry? Or
I do not know exactly that number, but we have a lot of real farmers that play it. It's really wild to see that. So we've also had instances of people that don't have a farming background that start playing our game as a kid, and when they get older, then they go into a career into agriculture as well, which is really cool.
And have you got the stats behind that? That'd be really
No, but
interesting.
there's a few in particular that I know from our community that started like on YouTube creating content and was able to be successful enough with that to fund themselves to then buy their own land and machinery. So
they use the game to fund moving
Right.
into our sector.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
In the UK, or is that
In
more?
the US, the examples at least that I'm thinking of, yeah.
I mean, again, from my perspective, as you say, it's a wonderfully safe environment to
Right.
sort of make mistakes and practice and learn and have some fun.
Yeah.
It's not cold and wet, and you've not got the bank manager knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And so actually the transference from a VR world to the real world,
Yeah.
I imagine might lose some people, but it sounds like the opposite's true, that you're
Yeah.
the hook that's pulling people into the business.
I think you're right. There's definitely some things that you can't learn within the game, those hardships, the things that you mentioned, that we can't replicate because we need to focus on the game being fun at the end of the day. But it can teach you the basics. It can teach you, kind of the processes of running a farm. You can learn a lot of different processes in it and a lot of different variety of jobs that you can do in the game. So it can teach you those things, right? But it's not teaching some of those tougher.
And so do you go to a lot of shows like this? I mean, you said this is your first time at LAMMA,
Yeah.
but presumably you've been elsewhere, have you? Or
Yeah, I do most of the events in the U.S. that we're at. We also have our own event called FarmCon every July. Typically it's in Germany. This year it's in Austria. So we usually have just our community coming out for that. So I fly over here for that every year. So
for FarmCon?
For FarmCon.
And where is FarmCon held?
This year it's in Austria at Lindner, our host this year. We usually have it with a manufacturer. Last year we were with Fendt in Germany in Oktoberdorf. The year before that we were in Lauingen with Deutz Fahr. So it's always, with one of our brands that are in the game are hosting us. But yeah, 3 months, I think, last year I was away from home at events. So, good bit of travel for events, but I love it. Nothing is more fun than in person sharing the love of Farming Simulator and seeing both experienced players and players that are going to become a new player, finding that love for it, falling in love with it.
I imagine it was a fairly short meeting deciding the name of FarmCon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What are we going to call it, folks? FarmCon? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Meeting closed, right?
Yeah, we've been doing that for a few years now. COVID kind of delayed it, but I think this is like our sixth or seventh one at this point. So we've been doing it for a while.
And what sort of, how many people do you get at an average FarmCon? I mean,
Last year we had, I think, like 3,000 to 5,000 at
Okay.
Fendt. They have a larger facility, so sometimes the space is a bit smaller, won't accommodate that. But yeah, people are coming. Last year we had a guy from Brazil come to Germany for the event. We had a guy from New Zealand come. So like people are coming from all over the globe for this event.
And you're filling the space, right? So
Yeah.
what if it was a 5,000 venue, it sounds like you'd probably fill that, would
Yeah,
you? Or?
I don't doubt it. Yeah, the Farming Simulator fans are so just passionate about the game that they're willing to show up and connect with each other at every chance they get.
So you're back next year here at LAMMA, 26th?
Hope so. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's confirmed or not. That would be up to our event team, but we've loved being here, so I would love to be back, and I see us being back, to be honest, but I don't know for sure. Nothing's confirmed
I
yet.
think you are, even in only your second year, you're a fixture here already. And I think, as I touched on earlier, it's a really interesting sort of window on
Yeah.
how our industry's become a tech and data and AI business
Yeah.
rather than, which is really cool. It's absolutely wonderful speaking to you, Kermit. And I just wanted to finish with asking you your favourite bit of the game. Which bit do you? Because obviously you play as well, right?
I do. Actually, I was a fan of the game first, so like this job is really a dream come true for me. But man, it's tough to say. I like a lot of the jobs, but it's just so satisfying to get to harvest in the game. There's just something about getting to that stage. You've put all the time in. Now you're harvesting your crop, and the work doesn't stop there. But you can feel for a moment the work is paid off, right?
So something tangible in an intangible virtual world that
Yes.
you've got there.
Exactly.
Kermit, thank you very much for your time this morning. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. I learn all the time, and I promise, come back and come to the stand and have a look and play
I look
myself
forward to it.
at some stage. As I said, many thanks to Kermit for joining us here in the studio. We genuinely are thrilled to have the Farming Simulator team back with us here at LAMMA Show.